Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. Now, we have here today a mix that we haven't quite had on this show. We've had a few adult film stars and we've had a few comedians, but never one that done both. So please welcome to the show, Sally Mullins. Sally, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be your first hybrid.
Yes, that's definitely the way to put it there. First hybrid. So tell us a little bit, like you obviously that's a very cross path, career you have. But before you got into any of these, just kind of give us a little insight on who you are. Who is Sally Mullins?
Good question. Well, I was born in England. I moved to Florida when I was 9 years old. That might explain a lot about the career choices. I grew up in Florida. I went to college in Florida. I moved to LA in my late 20s and I started comedy by the time I was 30, and I'm 54 now. So I've had a long career in comedy.
All right. Now, what? And I know you've actually hosted a comedy store out in California a couple times, right?
Oh my God, I've been hosting the Comedy Store for ages, but we just got back there post-pandemic. But I host a show called D's Nuts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I work for a guy called Vargas Mason, and it's one of the longest running showcases there. And yeah, I'm just ready to go back. Like we just started, and I think our official night back in the original room is going to be Friday the 21st. So I'm excited and nervous.
And that's well, October 21st.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You got it.
All right, cool. Now, what town is that? I've actually never been to California. What town is that comedy store?
Oh, well, I mean, it's either Hollywood or Los Angeles. I think it's technically Los Angeles. It's sort of like the Beverly Hills border,
Okay.
and it's on Sunset Boulevard.
All right. I'm actually going out there the 1st of November
Oh, cool.
there's a film festival thing they have on the 3rd of November of somebody that I've actually had on the show has got a film that's going out there. It's in Santa Monica at the AMC.
Nice. Oh, yeah, that's a big film festival. Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna have fun. Yeah, the Comedy Store is like a little bit more inland than that, but where are you staying? You're gonna have a blast.
Yeah. I haven't
That's
even booked a room yet. I just found out last week I was going.
Okay, well, the first place I ever stayed was sort of Santa Monica adjacent when I moved out to California, like 96. And that was the Travel Lodge on Pico. And it was pretty fun and affordable. And it had like a kitchen in there. But if you have a friend, I mean, you'll probably just stay with your friend.
Well, he might have a lot going on. I don't even know how much he'll be probably in his room because it's his movie. He actually got it. He's been working on it for quite a while, but it got shot. He's got some pretty big name actors in it too, and then they're having like a after party afterwards. And he invited me up there to come to that, so I was like, I'll probably doubt I'll ever get an opportunity like that again. So I might as well jump on it.
You're gonna have a really good time.
Oh
If you want to come to the Comedy Store, I'm there every Friday night. I come to LA like once a week because I just moved to the desert. I know that's weird, but I live 2 hours and 45 minutes outside of LA right now. But I wanted to own a home, and I have a lot of pets, a lot of pets.
yeah, a lot of big animal lover.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, all animals are great, but like cats and dogs. I have a lot of cats and dogs.
Yeah, I'm not so much a cat person myself, but I do love dogs. I have a husky.
Oh, hey. Toxic masculinity husky, huh? Oh, yeah. You got to give cats a chance unless your husky's got issues with them?
Well, he actually does. He has
Okay.
issues with cats and male dogs. Like other male dogs, he does not get along. As long as it's female, he's okay. But like, I guess he's very heterosexual. I guess.
Yeah, he's like straight. He's kind of homophobic, but I
Yeah,
get
he's
it.
the
He
homophobic.
I got a psycho dog too. I got a psycho dog that like my ex in and out of jail, I had to end up rescuing. And he's a German shepherd. And when you have like a psycho little dog, like a crazy chihuahua, that's no big deal. But when you have like a 60, 65 pounder who's got issues with other dogs or men or something, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, no, no doubt. So, what kind of prompted you to first get into comedy? Like, was it just kind of a passion? Or you say a lot of people that I've talked with see like a special, be it a Eddie Murphy or Red Fox or something that just kind of kicks them into gear, and that's what they want to do. What kind of prompted you to go into comedy?
Well, none of those things, although those things are all really cool. I wish I would have experienced more comedy when I was growing up. I was always really into acting. I wanted to continue performing, but I didn't really want to rehearse or deal with a lot of people or audition. And I had always been like funny with my friends and really weird, dark sense of humor. And I love to write. So I found an ad in the LA Weekly when I first moved to LA, and it was a free comedy class with a guy called Greg Dean. And I went and I audited his class and I got to go up. And at the time, there weren't that many women in comedy. I mean, we're talking like 25 years ago. And I said, oh, wow, all these guys laughing at me. This is really fun. And I was hooked like right away.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably pretty true. Because like looking back, I don't remember like a ton of women in comedy. Obviously now, they're more prevalent, but like back in the day, I'm not even going back as far as like Richard Pryor, but when I really started getting into comedy, like Lisa Lampanelli was one of the first ones that I remember that was like
Hmm.
could really hold her own with all the guys, and was just very raunchy. I used to love when she would be on those celebrity roasts.
Oh, she's hilarious. And I mean, like the reality is just not as many women do it. So that's why you don't get to see as many women who can, hold their own. It's like if there was something that women were more traditionally thrown into like home ec or whatever, like most guys aren't going to be as good because there's not as many guys representing, but they'd all be better than me at home ec, let me tell you that. Oh my god, thank god for porn.
Now, when did the porn come into play? When did that happen?
Well, pretty soon, as soon as I started getting really broke from comedy, also in the back of the LA Weekly, there was an ad for like a fetish dungeon. And I wanted to be a stripper, but I can't dance and I didn't have the right looks to be a stripper in LA. I felt I would go around the strip clubs and I'd be like, wow, that chick can really dance. Like these girls look like what I figure Vegas showgirls look like, and they're in the strip clubs. I mean, I'm from Florida and I would go to strip clubs there and it would be like some chick drunk hanging on a pole.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that in LA. Like they were amazing dancers and I was very intimidated. And then I saw an ad for this fetish dungeon where, you're going to get tied up. And I asked the guy on the phone, I said, like, do I have to dance? And he was, no, like, you'll be spanked, you'll be flogged, you'll be in bondage. You don't have to dance.
Yeah. And I kicked it into high gear.
Cash, cash, cash payout.
Cash payout will do it. That'll get you into a lot of things.
Well, I was working as a teacher and there was just a lot of red tape. I was trying to like do more comedy.
You're still doing the teacher when you were doing the dominatrix stuff.
I transitioned out of teaching to do the domination, but here's what's weird. Sometimes some of my ex-students, because I was teaching adults,
Oh,
some of my ex-students would show up at the bondage dungeon and they'd be like, "Oh, teacher."
wow. That was gonna be my next question. Did you run into anybody? Because I always think of like what was that movie? Varsity Blues, where all the football players go out to like the strip club and then they see their was a math teacher or whatever in there.
Wow. She was working out her fantasies or maybe teaching not paying enough. I didn't see that movie, but that's kind of hot, you
Yeah.
know? I
Oh,
want to
what?
see it now.
Yeah, it was. It was hot because they always, I guess, kind of had a crush on her throughout the movie, and then they go in there and they're all like partying before like a big game, and then she comes out on the stage, and they're like, "Holy shit!" That's I forgot her name, Miss Davis or whatever it was, but they stayed in there to like daylight, and then they go out and then they play like shit in that game because they were up all night and they're partying.
Oh, and Miss Davis gets to spank them.
So
Who played Miss Davis? I'll
I
have
don't
to check
remember
out
her.
the
I don't remember
IMDb.
her name. She wasn't like a huge actor, but she was very attractive.
Yeah, that helps. That's so weird because I've just been watching this Mary Kay Letourneau documentary, about that teacher, like the first teacher
Yeah.
to hook up with her student. And yeah, that's very much the theme this week, I guess, in my trashy life anyway. Oh, also sorry to be on your podcast here with wet hair, but I just don't want you to think it's dirty.
That's quite all right.
Okay, okay, cool. Cool. I
Um,
like your cap too.
Thank you. Yeah, I just cover up my hair. Like I said earlier, I apologize if I sound a little deep. I'm battling a cold myself, but so that's kind of curious. So I mean, like, how did you like the dominatrix thing? Because that's a little out of the box to be your first thing you get into, you know?
Well, I did not start out as a dominatrix. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I just knew I didn't have to dance.
Right.
So I felt safe. And I went in there and I had to start out as a submissive, which means you're the one getting
Oh,
tied up, spanked, tickled, flogged, rope. But that way you learn. That way
yeah.
you learn the ropes. Because a lot because a lot of girls are going in there and they're like, I'm ready to kick a man's ass. And you can't just, you can't just start out at a fetish house without like working your way up. And in
Right.
time you learn. And also you can't take like that many beatings anymore.
Yeah.
It's really hard to hide them from your boyfriend.
Now, were you dating when you were doing this?
I was actually living with a guy, but we were sort of transitioning out of the relationship and into a marriage. That was weird. He was Japanese and he needed a green card. So after we broke up in our relationship, I ended up hooking him up. I'm terrible at breaking up with someone. I always feel so guilty. So I said, "Look, I don't want to be boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, but I will be your wife." It's over and I do.
Yeah, it's over. I do. Let's go. Oh, so how long
So
did
he
that last?
Oh, dude, it lasted like longer than anyone's legit marriage. I mean, we were so lazy and we didn't have kids or anything to like stress us out. So we were married for like 15 years.
Holy shit. Oh, okay.
And we just got divorced during COVID. And I was like, well, let's get divorced. And he goes, no. And he wouldn't, even though I got him a green card, he would not pay his share of the divorce to file. So I had to pay like an extra $500 to file his paperwork because he's like, I don't care. I don't want a divorce. I guess he wanted part of this desert property or something.
Yeah, yeah, you might want a little property out there in the desert. So that's interesting though, because like I always wonder like how people balance out relationships and also being in the porn business, because essentially, it is a job, but you are, having sex on camera. But so how do you keep that fresh in the, obviously if your significant other knows what you're doing, then it's not a issue of like trust or anything like that. But it's how do you, keep it fresh in the bedroom with your significant other, as opposed to that being what you're doing all day. Because sometimes, I mean, like when I get off work welding, obviously this is a totally different thing. But when I get done welding, the last thing I want to do is weld. Now,
Yeah.
sex might be a different story. How is that?
So you can't be with anyone who has like a welding fetish, you know?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work.
Foot welding or well, most porn girls, we date such total losers that pretty early in the relationship we want to stop having sex with them anyway, and it's got nothing to do with, but the usual pattern is that at first when you date a guy, he's like, that's cool, that's hot, and then several months into things, you're a fucking whore, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, can we say that on here? I'm sure we
Yes, you
can,
can say
right?
whatever you want. It's
Yeah, yeah,
totally under.
yeah. Okay, so also old whore, or in my case, I got a lot of old whore, and but then the guy's like crying and doesn't want to leave the old whore. A lot of mixed signals.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and I've heard stories like that. Like I said, that and two, if you get some that are okay with it, they wind up actually doing it with them, and being like maybe on screen with them at the same time. So
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that, with a couple of people, and that can be kind of cool. Um, you can also that can backfire too, though, because then a guy can be possessive about the porn, about the content, or I made you what you are. It's like, no, you were just, the penis on camera kind of thing. I even had this one guy who wanted, well, he called a lawyer and he said to the lawyer, this woman exposed me to porn. She involved me in her porn. And the lawyer was like, "Are you over 18? Then we don't have a case." Click.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, what was like the first kind of like big shoot that you went on? Because I mean, I know there's different levels. What was like the first like real one that was kind of like, wow, this is like nothing like I've ever thought of.
Well, okay, so I started out in fetish, mainly spanking. So I was playing the mom, usually spanking a lot of people, boys and girls, usually girls, 18 and up.
Right.
And I transitioned into porn, like hardcore porn, like sex on camera, very late. Like I was almost 50.
Mm-hmm.
And the first shoot I did, I was actually amazed how small, how low key it was, and how much everyone wanted to leave. I was the only one who was like, "I'm doing a porn." The camera guy was like, "Let's get this done. I have to get to LAX." And as I remember, the guy, the male talent, he had to get to LAX too. Like everyone had a plane to catch except me. I mean, it's just way more like one person with the camera. It's not, I thought it would be like, stop, start, what's your motivation? Give me that smile. Let's try this a different way. It's just like, boom, have sex, hit about 4 or 5 positions. Let's get out of here. We have to get to LAX.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing is like a lot of your videos probably would have like that mommy title or mommy fetish or something, but didn't like Pornhub or one of the big ones recently like get rid of a lot of those and take a lot of them down with that in the title?
They just put them back up, stepmom. I mean, they just retitled them.
Okay.
But I have actually very soon after I started porn, since I started porn at like 48, I was grandmothered into porn playing a gilf, a granny I'd love to fuck. And I had this agent, and your agent's supposed to like keep you out of gilf,
Yeah.
just for common decency. And also, so you have like a card to play at some point. Like when you start porn, you can't do butt stuff right away. You have to be like holding out to get more money. But right away, I showed up and there was this like tall, blonde, muscular dude. And he goes, "Well, I guess you're my mom today." And the director was like, "Actually, she's your grandma." And we were both like, "Wah, wah."
Oh, Jesus. That's hilarious. How do you as the actress, do you have any input on like the names of these movies or is that all up to the director? Because I tell you, the names of some of these movies are fucking hilarious, like how they come up with them.
Usually the movie's already named. Like, they're like, Granny loves the BBC or something. And you're given, what really does surprise me though is in a lot of these porns, you're given like a script. And I'm going, okay, like I've had acting experience all my life. So you can give me a bunch of shit to memorize and give me 10 minutes and I've got it. But like a lot of people don't have that much experience with that or confidence. So I'm always surprised how much they do hand you and they're like, "Oh, you're great at it." I'm like, "Well, thanks, but I feel sorry for other people who aren't, they're just kind of getting by on their looks and then they have to do all this." Granny porn has a lot of dialogue too because they make you explain to the dude that you're not his real grandma. It's a big long story about how we like found you and adopted you. And
Right. Now we had a Sin Sage on the show not too
oh
long,
yeah,
and she's great. And for a long time, she was strictly like girl on girl. Like
I've
that's
spanked
her.
her.
Have you?
I've spanked her a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my stories about Sin Sage, because she started out in fetish too, like me, and
Yeah.
she can take a really good spanking. And I remember she has like this really amazing bubble butt.
Yeah.
And I remember doing the shoot where neither one of us were getting paid very well. And we were having to do so many scenes with me playing her mom and hitting her with a wooden spoon and hitting her with a belt and hitting her with a paddle. And of course, Sin's butt started getting bruised. And then the director started yelling at me like I was being too brutal. I said, "We're having to do scene after scene with heavy implements for very little money. And, this is what happens. Like, you guys should do the shoot differently." Like, we sort of stood up for ourselves and then we just kept doing the shoot. Sin was like, "I can take it." I mean, she's a really tough girl.
Oh yeah, yeah, real cool.
Yeah.
Now she has recently transitioned to, well, that was actually who I was referring to earlier. The guy she's with now, they actually do stuff on camera together.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's her husband. I think she said she was married now.
Okay. Oh,
They do
wow.
stuff on camera, so she's got a few videos with him where she's acting, and she said she's toyed with the idea of bringing in another guy, but they got to make sure the timing's right, the guy's right, and things like that. Have you ever done the DP?
Um, Only one time in real life, and in porn, I've only done like 2 girls and 1 guy. I'd like to do 2 guys and 1 girl, but I can't really do butt stuff. Like, my butt at my age just doesn't really wanna have sex. So, it just wants to, like, have a good digestion, and I'm really proud of it, and
Oh,
but I can't really, it doesn't really wanna take a dick anymore. So, no,
retired.
I mean, truthfully now, I'm on OnlyFans, and most of my porn is myself, me, myself, and I. That's the three-way I'm having now. Like, I'm stripping, I'm talking dirty, I'm doing role plays, I'm being kinky, I'm talking to the camera. It's not like I've got a bunch of dicks on there at all. It's fun.
Well, I mean, I ask you the same question with the porn. Like, obviously you said it was more of a way to make some extra cash, but when you started getting deeper into it and then decided to go to like the actual sex on camera, was there anybody that you studied or looked at movies of or inspired to like, okay, she's kind of cool. I'll kind of model myself after her. Or was there anybody that you looked at in that way?
No, I don't really watch any porn, including my own. I just kind
Really?
of check it. Yeah, I just kind of check it and go, okay, I still look skinny. Like, I can go eat, I'll go get Del Taco now because I still look skinny. But I do have like a lot of really good friends in the industry. Like Vicky Vet has been really good to me. I'm on her network and but I've never watched their porn. No, I remember seeing oh, what's the petite girl who makes $1 million? Riley Reed. I remember seeing her at the AVNs and she was like wasted and having fun, and I go, "Oh, that looks like a good time," but I've never even watched any of her porn. I just think she's real pretty.
Yeah. When I was like coming up in my, I guess you'd say later teens, Jenna Jameson was like the huge,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah,
she
yeah,
was the first person that I remember that kind of took it to the next level from being, on screen to owning your own company to
yeah.
having the people up under you. And she was real smart. I think she's battling some health issues right now. I follow her on
W
Instagram, but
Yeah, probably, plus, like, a lot of partying and everything. I mean, I I kind of I'm in 2 industries where I really could drink more if I wanted to, but I do think that maybe porn does inspire you to sort of, keep in shape, and I
yeah.
consider that part of my job, so I can't be drinking alone in the desert as much as I would like.
Yeah, I think comedy would probably allow that a little bit more than porn. I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah, you do need to stay in shape doing that. I mean, it's just like anything else, like an athlete or a football player. I mean, you have to stay in shape.
It helps, but you don't have to be skinny to do porn. Like I've
Right.
probably, I mean, I'm in mid 50s now. I'd say I've gained 10 pounds over the past 5 years since I started porn, and there's not been any problems with it. But, then again, I'm thin. I mean, if you gain weight or you age up or whatever, you just move into a different category.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I like about the content platforms like OnlyFans. It's more about your personal vibe, your interaction, like the entire entertainment package. I mean, Jenna Jameson, to her credit, like you said, she pulled all that off before there were premium content platforms on the internet. When a porn star used to be like this person who kind of had this private life and went to the studio, she crossed over in that time, and that's
Right.
really cool. Yeah.
I think probably before her, when I was young, my dad used to have this. What they called them, like the illegal cable boxes, the descrambled.
Uh-huh.
And you had two pay-per-view channels. One was like show you all of the like current movies that had just come out, viewers choice, I think it was called way back in the day.
Yeah.
The other channel at nighttime would show you like softcore porn stuff, and there used
Like
to be,
Skinamax.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was a little bit more than Skinamax, because like I said, this was stuff you paid for. We didn't pay for it because we had the box, but it was Marilyn Chambers. You remember her?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like all that softcore stuff like Seika,
Yeah,
Marilyn Chambers,
Emmanuel. Yeah,
Emmanuel,
yeah,
Sylvia Cristal.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember all that. I remember some of those movies definitely made it onto like the movie channel and
yeah.
Showtime and HBO in the 70s. I mean, I'm older than you, but I remember like growing up with some really spicy stuff if you stayed up all night
Oh yeah,
and your parents went to bed and you could find some. I mean, like, they show so much more sex in movies from the 70s,
yeah.
art films.
Yeah, for sure. And that was cool because, like, that was kind of, I don't think my parents knew. Well, I don't think my mom knew exactly what come on after hours on those things. I never would turn it on until later. And I remember one night I left it on and I had to leave because during the day on those channels, it would show kind of the lesser, movies, not like the big box office hits. And I was watching something that was on one of those channels, and I left the house and left the TV on. And she's like, "Man, I went in there and there was something. I don't even want to say what I seen on the TV." I was like, "Ah, I didn't know they had that stuff on there, Mom."
You're like, huh, what? Nice.
So, and I seen on your bio when I was looking at, you're into horror movies.
I'm in a lot of horror movies. I used to like horror movies a lot when I was growing up, and I've ended up being in a lot of them, although I don't really watch them personally that much anymore. But yeah, I'm in a lot of like low budget horror movies. And usually now I'll do it if they give me a really weird part, like a incestuous clown mom or something, or, I'm like, okay, I'll show up. Cause a lot of them, like, they don't pay, but
Yeah.
you can sort of work it out that it fits your schedule. And I'm sure now I've moved to the desert, there's gonna be, like, a lot of horror, directors who wanna shoot at my place, and yeah, I do have, like, a little rep as, like, a scream queen or
Yeah.
big weirdo.
That's got to be something that's like goes hand in hand with this industry because even Sin herself and other people that I've talked with are like all big horror movie fans. I don't know if that's just something that kind of goes along with the genre or what.
Yeah, Sin, she started out in fetish. It's like a lot of people who, goth, kink, fetish, horror movies. There's just a lot of crossover in that type of entertainment. And that's also just a really fun lifestyle. And
Oh yeah,
it's always been, kind of like outlier and everything. And yeah, there's a lot of like when you would go to the dungeon, there'd be, some just like amazing goth girls and Bar Sinister, big club in Hollywood where you'd go and dance. And I remember, like, I came up in the 80s and I was like partying underage in Florida. And the industrial vibe was like just kicking in. And, you're like, oh, those people are intense. Like they're on the dance floor with their faces made up like the Cure. And
yeah,
it's always worked out, always gotten along with them. It's cool to be in horror movies.
yeah. I'm a big horror movie fan. I'm looking forward to the new Halloween that's coming out. Well, actually, this week in a couple of days, as a matter of fact, it's coming out. I'm a big Halloween fan.
Oh, nice. So I was supposed to play like Jamie Lee Curtis as, the grandma, Laurie Splode, and she was this movie was it was like dude, I was just thinking of this today because I was thinking about, that Halloween is coming, and I just rescued this pit bull. We found him wandering in the desert and we named him Boo. And I was just in Walmart buying shit, and I'm like, "Oh, Halloween's coming. Hey, why didn't I ever do that movie where I was gonna play Laurie Splode?" Like standing in the line at Walmart, picking
Oh.
up my chlamydia meds. I'm sorry, TMI, but that's what podcasts are. Podcasts are TMI, right?
That's exactly what they are. Wow, Lori explode.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. Whew.
Yeah, I don't know why that movie, like, it was supposed to be made like 3 Halloweens in a row. The director would hit me up and go, "You still down?" You know, and then he'd send me like costume ideas. Yeah, I'm down. And it just like never happened.
I'm assuming at that point you have to be fucking like Michael Myers or somebody.
Yeah, I was gonna get to fuck Michael Myers.
I mean, and why would you not want to go ahead and do that? I mean, that's a piece of land.
Taboo,
Yeah,
taboo shit. You get the brother and sister thing, you get the you know,
yeah.
horror parody, and you get the granny thing. It's everything's there.
Wow. You ever heard of that haunted house where it's like real extreme? It's called McCamey Manor, and I want to say it started out in San Diego, and I think now it's in Tennessee. I done an episode with the guy that runs it. And his name's Russ McCamey. It's like where it's borderline torture. Like they can fucking touch you and put you in rooms with cockroaches and snakes and all kinds of crazy shit. You ever heard of that?
Um, I've been through some haunted houses and I always get targeted because I just look like such a screamy Karen, you know?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard of that, but I've definitely been in some. Like there's some in Florida, like in Tampa and Daytona Beach. I went to like this really freaky one run by bikers. But I love those things. I love those things, but that one sounds like I might just freak the fuck out and
Yeah.
go crazy.
Well, it's like you have to sign a waiver and all types of shit to be on there. It's like you know going into it like you're not gonna make it through. It's not really. I don't even know if I consider it a haunted house. It's damn near like a torture chamber, so to speak. But people willingly do it. Like they go through a bunch of stuff to do it. It's not like you
Yeah,
surprise
they
it.
might go through a bunch of, drugs and wine coolers or something to do
Yeah,
it too.
I
I
would.
think right now I'm too obsessed with the war in Ukraine to be like indulging in anything that's really intense like that. Like I've really followed that from the start. And I think for Halloween this year, I'm going to be really chill. Like I am going to sit out front in the desert and give, well, I hate to give candy to kids, so I'll probably be kind of cheap. Maybe I'll be that lady who gives out apples, but then if some kid gets a razor blade, I don't want to get blamed, you know. I'll just try to find some low-key candy, but I do want to keep it chill this year. Like nothing too scary, you know.
Yeah. What's the coolest Halloween outfit you ever wore?
Okay, well, I don't know where to begin because I always won contests. And unlike most of the kids in any given neighborhood, I was pretty original. That's another thing. It's like, you're a princess. Oh, you're Batman. Like, congratulations, you're basic.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should just be like, great costume, you're basic. So when I was 10 years old, I was Sandy from Greece. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John.
Mhm.
My mom let me put together like a black leotard, black tight pants, and red high heels. And I had a fake candy cigarette, and I was like, tell me about it, stud. And I won first prize. And next year I was Gene Simmons from Kiss. I've also been the Statue of Liberty. I was Tanya Harding. I was Elizabeth Warren. I also played her in porn. I've had a lot of really cool, who was I gonna be this year? Well, it's like there's this really creepy DJ. He was a DJ in England. His name was Jimmy Savile, and he turned out to be like this big creepy pedophile. But I don't think enough people in America like know who he is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Now you've actually
Google.
got a stand up on Amazon Prime right now, right? Sleazy does it.
Yeah, Sleazy does it. If you go to sleazydoesit.com, it'll take you to my Amazon special. Yeah, that was really cool. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. So how did that come about for you? Just out of
Well, I did that in 2020 before lockdown. It was filmed the end of January 2020, and I got it up by the middle of 2020. So everyone was home looking for shit to watch. And that's one of the reasons it did so well, obviously. The fact that I was able to turn it around and get it on Amazon, and they were like, yes, give us programming. Everyone's watching.
yeah.
So that just made me feel like even though we were quarantined, I was doing stuff every day. So many people were watching it, and it really helped me like emotionally, you know. And I got into Zoom comedy a lot and I brought my podcast back and I started rescuing a lot of animals again. Like 2020 was a pretty good year for me, but I also, you know, I get really into the news. I'm very empathetic. I was, you know, doing my best to help people and animals, that's for sure, especially animals.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's cool. Now you also work with David Spade on what Lights Out.
That was cool. Like David Spade was filming at the show I host at the Comedy Store, so he needed me to introduce those people who had not done comedy before, and they were doing it in his show, like Chuck Liddell and there was this girl, oh man, she was a model, she did like the Carl's Jr. commercial, I forget her name, but they were all really good. And then the dude who shot bin Laden, the
Yeah, yeah,
seal,
yeah,
yeah, he did it. And you know what's really cool is those guys, before they go on stage in a stand-up show, they're coming out of their skin,
yeah,
and they were very polite and there was nothing diva in their attitudes at all, but like, you know, like a big wrestler, he's not a big of a dude, but he's like ripped, you know, and he's like really okay, like intense before he goes on stage. And then everyone was really funny and that show was great and David Spade was so nice.
yeah. He's
Yeah,
hilarious, man. He's one of my favorites.
he's
Like
great.
you go back with like Tommy Boy and Black Sheep, or just some of like the all time classics that I would just throw on. It's real funny.
He's really good. I mean, I really dug him on Just Shoot Me as well. I mean, he's
Yeah.
really just talented.
And the obviously the Joe Dirt films got some classic liners in there. My son, for whatever reason, when he found Joe Dirt, like he would rewatch that movie like once a week. I would come in from work and he'd like be watching Joe Dirt like for
That's good. That's good to see. I would love to have kids who like that movie, you know? That's
yeah.
cool.
And he called me a liar because he said, I was like, "There's a part two," and he's like, "No, you're not." You know, I'm like, "It's a part two. I've seen it." And then he finally watched part two. He's like, "I like part one better." And I was
Exactly. I had an ex who turned me on to Major League, and I'm like,
like,
this
"Yeah,
is the
yeah, the
most
baseball movie."
hilarious, brilliant movie. And all those guys, Berenger, Burnson, Charlie Sheen,
Sheen.
like, and then by the time they got Major League Two together, like everyone was like washed up and wasted, and it wasn't funny at all. And Major League One is brilliant. You
Oh,
know, it's
Major
a
League
brilliant
was
movie.
awesome. Two, I remember, like you said, not being as good.
Wah,
I
wah.
think they had a three too that was like minor leagues or something that had
Oh,
like,
seriously?
yeah, it
Oh, by
was.
that point, I probably shut it out.
Yeah, but no, Major League is a classic. That's one of them ones that I wish they would, not necessarily maybe with the same people, obviously, because all those guys are much older, but bring it. Everything seems to be getting revamped now by bringing back different
Yeah.
characters, still having their roles, such like Halloween, as we're talking about. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis is back, obviously not playing. Well, in a sense, she kind of is still playing the same role because Michael's still chasing her, but it's mixing in a new cast of characters.
Yeah, and those guys, it would be great to have them making cameos like Berenger. Wait, didn't he pass? Did Berenger just pass away?
No, I don't think so. Did he?
No, like from alcohol or something. I mean, he's like
Berenger?
pretty hot back in the day, but then he just got like too drunky kind of vibe. Yeah, you better Google that. I'm not sure because I know my mom had a big crush on him, but you know, you could bring back those dudes in cameos and remake Major League because it's hilarious.
No, he's not dead.
Okay, okay. All right.
I was
Well,
about to
just
say
his
I'm
career
a
is.
big Bear.
Bring him back.
Yeah, yeah, his career might.
He might be doing a horror movie with me pretty soon. Come to the desert. Porn.
oh,
Grandpa porn.
yeah, Grant. Oh boy. Okay. I'm trying not to cough because if I cough, I'll keep going. Oh,
I know. You better put a COVID swab up your nose.
now, I remember him from obviously from Major League, and he had that one movie, the Substitute, where he played like that bad
Oh
teacher. And
my God. Yeah, I turned my one of my ex-boyfriends, the same one who turned me on to Major League. I said, "Oh, you like Berenger?" I go, "You need to watch The Substitute because that is some over-the-top vigilante shit, you know? That movie's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one."
so, what is your plans right now? Like, what are you looking forward to doing? Do you have anything else in the works in lieu of comedy or adult films? What's kind of on the horizon for you?
Well, oh my gosh, so much. So basically, I moved in July. I moved out of a home I've been renting in LA for 12 years. I moved my 11 pets and myself to the first home I've ever owned in the Mojave Desert. So I am getting the lay of the land. I'm really working on all my content and I'm regrouping because when I lived in LA, it seemed like every night I was going out doing shows. I really didn't have time to spend time with my animals or to make money as an influencer,
Right.
to develop as an OnlyFans creator, you know, and so it's been very good for me financially. And I like it here. I think I'm gonna really do well here. And the funny thing is, I'm getting more culture here in the freaking desert because there's more parking. So you can like go to the library, you know, you can see stuff. Every day in LA, I was just like, when's showtime? You
Yeah.
know, when do I get to perform my 10 minutes for free and then go home and try to make my $1,500 rent?
Well, that's the thing about the OnlyFans is like if you're able to devote a lot of time to it, that's the key is to keep having that content coming out, fresh content. Much like people in other avenues too, would be it songs or whatever. You have to keep pumping out the content to keep people
Yeah.
engaged. Otherwise, if you go weeks and months and don't put anything up, then people are not going to subscribe. So therefore, you lose revenue.
Yeah, you can't be lazy about it. It's a gig, it's a job just like anything else. So, yeah, you have to be visible and not everything has to be great and not everything has to take that much time and be polished because if people want to see polished porn, just go to Pornhub.
Yeah.
All the major studios are promoting their stuff on there. Go to X Hamster, you
Yeah.
know, go to X Videos. It's all on there. But if they want to see like the real you, just you know, flashing your boobs, giggling, talking shit, go to your OnlyFans.
X Hamster was one of the ones I used to use back in the day. Not a lot of people knew what that was. I used to say that, and they was like, "What kind of animal porn shit is that?" I'm like, "No, dude, it's real porn."
That's what it sounds like. And that was sort of funny because I've been trying to get sponsorship for my podcast, but the main things I talk about are my porn and pets, and everyone's like, "Ex hamster, then."
Yeah, that would be
You
right up
got
there.
it all.
Yeah. What's that over your shoulder there? What is
Oh, that's my podcast, Hello Cougar Podcast, Comedy Cats Creepin'. I talk about like what I'm watching on TV. I talk about my comedy gigs at the comedy store. I talk about things that happen to me in porn and also animal rescue, you know, and I talk about things in the news too. It's like I have a guest. The guest is either a porn person or a comedian for the most part.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll put a link to that in our show notes. What all platforms are you on?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
We'll
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 do
have
that.
to cross promote.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you on like what social medias are you on? So if any of our listeners want to track you down and follow you.
Oh, that'd be great. Sally Mullins 818 on Instagram, Sally Mullins 1 on Twitter, and Ms. Jamie Foster on OnlyFans and Twitter for porn.
All right. Yeah, I gotta watch what links I put up for that because I put up one for one and I got a damn strike because it took me to I guess it linked you to like a nudity website or something like that. So I can do Instagrams and stuff like that. So as long as you have like a LinkedIn profile or something hooked to your Instagram, then they can follow you from there. But I messed around and done it one time on a YouTube video and I got a strike. So
Yeah, you can't, and you have to be very careful with Instagram too. And even on my porn Twitter, I play it safe. I don't put nudity
yeah.
because I just want to use everything for marketing, and you want the nudity, go pay for it, you know?
And it's crazy because like I see people like Britney Spears right now is going I don't know whether you consider her living her best life or just free or whatever she's doing, but like she's posting pictures constantly of pretty much totally nude with just like these little tiny little stickers covering just everything you're not supposed to see. And those gets millions of views, but then I know people that get stuff taken down for nowhere near that amount of nudity. So it's
Yeah,
weird.
it really sucks. And some porn stars, they get lawyers who get their accounts reinstated because that's a big part of their hustle. And
Yeah.
there's no definition for obscenity. There really aren't any guidelines. And it's weird that, yeah, I guess like major celebrities, like above the censorship or something. And as far as anyone who does that, like, I think it's cool, but my friends and I used to joke, we'd say, JDP, just do porn,
Yeah.
like if you like obviously there's part of you that really wants to. So just do porn. But I do think as well that you can definitely monetize that sort of in between space.
Yeah.
Like if Britney were to have something like an OnlyFans where
Oh yeah.
she's doing all that kind of stuff, and maybe she's in lingerie and maybe the lingerie sheer or something. I mean, that would be through the roof for her.
Oh yeah, she'd make a killing. She'd probably make more than that than she does her. Well, I don't even know if she's really still singing anymore, but I know that would probably blow off the rest because a lot of celebrities are coming out with. I think Carmen Electra not too long ago come out and made one. It's becoming more and more normal, which I think is great.
Yeah, it is. Well, last year was really crazy because a year ago, pretty much exactly a year ago, dude, like maybe to last week, OnlyFans said we're going to kick porn off.
Yeah,
And it was going to kind of be like that. It was going to be like artsy nudes and stuff. And a lot of people were just, freaked out, livid. They went to other platforms. I sort of wrote it out because I said, well, I'll adjust my content because most of my content is just me. And then OnlyFans said, "Oh, we hear you. We see you. We hear you. Porn can stay."
yeah. It's kind of like why would you want to screw up what really kind of catapulted you, to this? And by and large, we talked earlier about COVID, and that's kind of OnlyFans. I know was around before COVID, but it kind of really shot to the stardom during that because
Yeah.
that shut down all of your strip clubs and things like that. So people I mean, porn is a huge business. And I know I'm glad that it's not looked at as much as taboo. It still is in some areas, but it's a huge business. People literally make their livings that way. And, I think that was something that was looked over, regardless of why people were doing it for whatever the reason, it was their job, it was their livelihood. And when COVID happened, that put a damper on it for sure. So it gave them another avenue. And I think too, it helped the creativity side, like we spoke earlier, you have to keep coming up with fresh ideas and fresh content. So I think it was a blessing and a curse, I think, for some people, because you have to be able to adapt, and that's in anything, be it sex industry or whatever. Everything you have to adapt because there's always something new that's going to come along.
Yeah. I mean, just since I got into porn, like, and I know people who used to make so much money in like fetish or porn, like especially fetish too, before the internet.
Yeah,
And they would advertise like in the back of New Yorker magazine, like, do you have this secret side? Are you fetishizing, blah, blah. And they would sell like VHS tapes in the mail. And they made a lot of money doing that. And then the internet came along and maybe killed them. I mean, there's all these
yeah.
adjustments you've got to make.
Well, Sally, I've had a great time having you on the show. Again, we're going to put all of your social media links up on the bottom of our website. We'll put your podcast as well so people can go follow you on there. I've had a really great time having you on.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun to talk to you. Hit me up if you want any tickets to the Comedy Store when you come into town. And then if you have time ever, please do my podcast. I'd love to have you as a guest. It's Zoom. It's Zoom. It's really easy.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, that's what I
Yay.
do. So I'm very familiar with Zoom. But yeah, absolutely. No problem at all, for sure. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and send you a follow request on Instagram as soon as we get done with this.
Great. I will follow you right back.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Hollywood Wade. That was Sally Mullins. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Tune in next week for an all new episode of Crime and Entertainment. Sally, we appreciate you.
Thanks.